What if I told you that every single billionaire alive today, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates combined, would not even come close to the wealth of the people on this list? These were not just rich men and women. They were rulers, conquerors, emperors. They didn't just own company, they owned countries, continents, the entire world. This is the list of the 8 richest people in all of human history. And by the end of this video, you will never look at modern billionaires the same way again. Let's begin. Coming in at number 8 is a man most of the Western world has never even heard of. His name was Mir Osman Ali Khan, and he was the last Nizam, the royal ruler of Hyderabad, India. He ruled from 1911 to 1948, and during that time he accumulated a personal fortune of approximately $230 billion. Now let that sink in for a moment. $230 billion. That already makes him wealthier than most people alive today. But how did he get so rich? Hyderabad sat directly above the legendary Golconda diamond mine, the same mines that produced some of the most famous diamonds in world history. Mir Osman Ali Khan personally owned vast reserves of gold, silver, jewels, and land stretching across one of India's most fertile regions. He had treasure rooms so full of gold bars that his staff used them as paperweight. But perhaps the most astonishing story about his wealth is the Jacob diamond, a 185-carat diamond, one of the largest ever discovered, worth hundreds of millions of dollars today. And Mir Osman Ali Khan used it as a paperweight on his desk, just casually, every single day. In 1937, Time magazine featured him on their cover and called him officially the richest man on earth. When India annexed Hyderabad in 1948, his political reign ended, but his personal fortune, it remained absolutely staggering. Number 8, $230 billion, and we are just getting started. Number 7 takes us to America, to the age of oil, industry, and ruthless ambition. His name was John D. Rockefeller. Born in 1839 to a modest family in New York, he would go on to become the single wealthiest American who ever lived, with a fortune estimated at $340 billion in today's money. In 1870, Rockefeller founded Standard Oil, and what he did next was something no businessman had ever done before. He didn't just compete with his rivals, he systematically destroyed them. Through secret deals with railroad companies, aggressive pricing, and mergers, Rockefeller's Standard Oil consumed competitor after competitor, until by the 1880s, Standard Oil controlled nearly 90% of all oil refining in the United States. 90%. He didn't just dominate the market, he was the market. The US government was so alarmed by his power that in 1911, the Supreme Court ordered Standard Oil to be broken up into 34 separate companies. They thought this would destroy him. Instead, the shares of every single new company skyrocketed in value, and Rockefeller became even richer after the breakup than before it. But here's something most people don't know about Rockefeller. He was also the greatest philanthropist in American history. He donated over $500 million during his lifetime, funding universities, medical research, and global public health campaigns. He literally helped eradicate hookworm disease across the American South. Number 7, $340 billion, the richest American who ever lived. Number 6 brings us to the golden heart of West Africa, to an empire so wealthy that its ruler's generosity once crashed the global economy. His name was Mansa Musa, emperor of the Mali Empire, and his estimated fortune, $400 billion. Mansa Musa ruled from 1312 to 1337. His empire sat directly on top of nearly half of the world's entire gold supply, and half of its salt supply too. Salt, which in the medieval world was literally worth its weight in gold. But the moment that put Mansa Musa on the world map forever was his pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324. He didn't just travel to Mecca, he traveled in a style the world had never seen. His caravan stretched for miles across the Sahara Desert. 60,000 people accompanied him, 12,000 personal servants, each one dressed in fine Persian silk, 80 camels, each one carrying 300 pounds of pure gold. As he passed through Egypt and the Middle East, he distributed gold so freely and generously to the poor that he single-handedly flooded the market with gold. The price of gold collapsed across the entire Mediterranean world. Economies from Cairo to Baghdad were devastated. It took over a decade for gold prices to recover. One man's generosity caused a global economic crisis. European cartographers, hearing the stories of this impossibly wealthy African king, began drawing him on their world map, depicted as a king on a golden throne, holding a golden scepter. Number 6, $400 billion. The man who was so rich, his charity broke the economy. And now, we leave the world of billions behind, because from this point forward, we are talking about trillions. Number 5 is Augustus Caesar, the first emperor of Rome. Net worth approximately $5 trillion. Born Gaius Octavius in 63 BC, Augustus rose through one of the most turbulent periods in Roman history: civil wars, assassinations, and political chaos. After the assassination of his great-uncle Julius Caesar, Augustus fought his way to the top, defeating rivals including the famous Mark Antony and Cleopatra in the naval battle of Actium in 31 BC. And when Cleopatra and Mark Antony fell, Augustus did something extraordinary. He claimed Egypt not as a Roman province, not as public land, as his own personal, private property. Egypt was the ancient world's richest region, the breadbasket of the Mediterranean, producing gold, grain, and enormous tax revenue. By personally owning Egypt and controlling the entire Roman Empire, Augustus commanded roughly 25 to 30% of the entire world's GDP. His wealth was not just money, it was absolute total power. He also ushered in the Pax Romana, 200 years of relative peace across the Roman Empire. Roads were built, trade flourished, art thrived. Augustus didn't just rule Rome, he reinvented it. Number 5, $5 trillion. The man who owned an entire country as his personal estate. Number 4 is one of the most extraordinary human beings who ever lived, not just on this list, in all of history. Her name was Wu Zetian, and she is the only woman in 5,000 years of Chinese history to ever rule as emperor in her own name. Her estimated fortune, $16 trillion. Wu Zetian's story begins at age 14 when she entered the imperial palace as a concubine of Emperor Taizong, a concubine, the lowest rank of the imperial court. And yet, through extraordinary intelligence, political genius, and iron will, she rose step by step, year by year. She outlived Emperor Taizong. She maneuvered her way into the court of his successor. She eliminated rivals. She built alliances. And in 690 AD, Wu Zetian declared herself Emperor of China, founding her very own dynasty, the Zhou dynasty. During her reign, China was the world's largest economy, accounting for nearly 25% of all global wealth. She reformed the civil service, promoting talented people based on merit, not birth. She expanded China's military power and borders. She invested in agriculture, science, and Buddhist culture. Despite ruling effectively for decades, Confucian historians who opposed female leadership painted her as a villain, but modern historians tell a different story, a story of one of the most capable, visionary rulers China ever produced. Number 4, $16 trillion, from concubine to emperor of the world's richest nation. Number 3 takes us to the golden age of India, to the court of the greatest emperor the Mughal Empire ever produced. His name was Akbar, and history remembers him as Akbar the Great. His estimated fortune, $25 trillion. Akbar came to power in 1556 at just 13 years old, a teenager on the throne of one of the world's most powerful empires. And yet he would go on to expand the Mughal Empire across virtually the entire Indian subcontinent, ruling over more than 100 million people, the largest population under any single ruler on earth at that time. Mughal India under Akbar generated nearly 25% of the entire world's GDP. 25%. Think about that. One empire, 1/4 of everything produced on earth. But what truly made Akbar great was not just his wealth or military power, it was his vision. In an era of religious wars and persecution across Europe, Akbar preached and practiced religious tolerance. He abolished the jizya, a discriminatory tax on non-Muslims. He married Hindu, Muslim, and Christian women, building alliances across faith. He surrounded himself with scholars, artists, poets, and musicians. And here is perhaps the most remarkable fact about this man. Akbar the Great could not read or write. He was completely illiterate, yet he presided over one of the greatest intellectual and artistic golden ages in human history. Number 3, $25 trillion, the great emperor who proved that wisdom is far greater than literacy. Number 2 is a name that most people in the Western world have never heard, and yet he ran the most economically advanced civilization on the planet centuries before the Industrial Revolution. His name was Emperor Shenzong of the Song dynasty, and his estimated fortune was $30 trillion. Emperor Shenzong ruled China from 1067 to 1085 AD, and the Song dynasty he led was unlike anything else in the medieval world, while Europe was still living in the Dark Ages. Song dynasty. China had already invented paper money. They had advanced gunpowder weapons, movable type printing, 400 years before Gutenberg, and their iron and steel production was so advanced that China was producing more iron in the 11th century than all of Europe would produce for the next 700 years. 700 years. The Song dynasty accounted for roughly 25 to 30% of the entire world's GDP, placing Emperor Shenzong's personal control of wealth at $30 trillion in today's money. Shenzong was also a reformer. He commissioned the famous Wang Anshi reform, a sweeping set of economic policies designed to reduce the burden on poor farmers, strengthen state finances, and modernize the military. These were ideas so forward-thinking that historians compare them to modern economic policy 1,000 years ago. Number 2, $30 trillion, the forgotten emperor who ran the world's first modern economy. And finally, Number 1, the wealthiest human being in all of recorded history. His name needs no introduction. Genghis Khan, $100 trillion. Let that number sit with you for a moment. 100 trillion. That is not just more than every person on this list combined. That is more wealth than exists in the entire modern world today. But who was Genghis Khan before he became the greatest conqueror in history? He was born around 1162 on the harsh Mongolian steppe. His name at birth was Temujin. At just 9 years old, his father was poisoned by rival tribesmen. His own clan abandoned him and his family, leaving them to die in the wilderness. He was later kidnapped, enslaved, humiliated, and yet from those ashes rose the most powerful military conqueror the world has ever seen. Through brilliant military strategy, unbreakable loyalty, and psychological warfare, Temujin united the fractured Mongol tribe and declared himself Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler, in 1206. What followed was the most explosive military expansion in human history. In just a decade, the Mongol Empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to Eastern Europe, 24 million square kilometers of land, nearly 1/5 of the entire Earth's surface, home to 1/4 of the world's entire population. No empire in history has ever come close to this size, and everything within those borders, every mine, every farm, every trade route, every treasury belonged to Genghis Khan. His $100 trillion fortune reflects total domination of an unimaginable portion of the world's resources. He also established Pax Mongolica, a period of relative stability across his empire that allowed trade to flourish on the Silk Road, connecting east and west in ways never seen before. His legacy shaped the genetic, cultural, and political landscape of an enormous portion of the modern world. To this day, an estimated 16 million people alive on Earth carry his DNA. Number 1, $100 trillion, Genghis Khan, the richest human being who ever lived. 8 rulers, 8 fortunes that make today's billionaires look like pocket change. From the diamond vaults of Hyderabad to the oil fields of America, the gold mines of West Africa, palaces of Rome, China, and India, and the endless steppes of the Mongol Empire, wealth throughout history has always followed power. And these 8 individuals had more of both than anyone who has ever lived. So the next time someone tells you Elon Musk is the richest person in the world, you'll know the truth. If you found this video fascinating, hit that subscribe button on Hypnotic Histories, because we bring you the stories history forgot to tell. Drop a comment below. Which ruler on this list shocked you the most? And share this video with someone who thinks they know history. Until next time, stay curious, stay hypnotized, and keep exploring history.